Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I am super excited to be crafting with the Spellbinders BetterPress Halloween collection. I have two of the press plates that I'll be using today. So this first one here is a spider web background and it's nice and large. It will fit an entire A2 panel. So that's 4¼ by 5½. And I'm inking it with Sukaneko Stays On Opaque ink. This is a pigment-based ink that is solvent-based. So if you are not familiar with this particular type of ink pad, when you buy this, the ink pad is not inked up. So it is a blank ink pad, and it has all of the packaging just as you see it, all the labeling, but it's just not inked up yet. Instead, they include a bottle of ink, and that way you can ink it up as you need. And then your ink pad, if it happens to dry out, you'll have, fresh ink in the bottle because it is solvent based, so it actually might dry out a little bit faster than some of your other ink pads would. And that's why they've kind of shipped it separately so that you can just ink up whatever you need for your project, and that way hopefully it will last a little bit longer, and if it dries out in between, it's not going to be like a complete waste. So it does press beautifully onto black. As you can see, it's nice, it's bright white, it holds that white, and so it's beautiful. I'm pressing onto 80-pound cover weight solid color cardstock, so it is not as thick as the 100-pound cotton, or I think Spellbinders is 118 100% cotton cardstock. So that's going to be a lot thicker than my 80-pound cardstock here. So when this goes through the BetterPress, it doesn't actually do that debossing that you would normally see when you press into a cotton card, but it still looks beautiful, and it's essentially just stamping the design onto the cardstock. If you really wanted to have that debossing effect, you could probably just add maybe a cardstock shim or two, and that would increase the thickness, which might help to press that design into your cardstock and leave that sort of debossed design. I don't mind this being flat, so I was totally okay with it. And because this pigment ink is solvent based, it actually dries fairly fast. So that's one thing that I also really love about it. Then the second press plate set that I'm going to be crafting with today is the Halloween icons. This is a huge set, so it's really, really fabulous. I would say though, one thing I kind of wish is that there were coordinating dies for all of these icons, but I do have to admit that I love when there's the set of sentiments that you can stamp all in one go, or in this case press all in one go, and then a single die that will cut them out all in one go. So I do kind of love that. But I did end up having to do a lot of fussy cutting after I pressed these images. But I thought about it afterwards, and I wish I had tried sending the pressed design through my scan and cut to see, because it is just black and white, so I think the scan and cut would have worked just fine. But I've never tried to do a scan and cut with the white line on black cardstock. Let me know in the comments if you've ever done that before and if it works. I've never done that, so I didn't even think to use my scan and cut. But then after I did a bunch of fussy cutting, I was thinking, wait a sec, would this have worked in my scan and cut? So I'm curious. I'll have to try that, or I hope somebody leaves me a comment and lets me know. But for these icons and the sentiments, I'm actually using, instead of my white, I'm actually using the Tsukuneko Delicata ink in silvery shimmer, because I noticed that several of these designs have rather solid areas to them. And so with that, you can really appreciate that shimmer of the Delicata ink a bit more than, say, on a design that has a lot of fine lines. So with a lot of those more solid sections, I think there's more ink. And so you can actually, if you tilt it and catch it in the right light, you can actually see that shimmer. And so, you can appreciate it a little bit better, I think. And I love the artistic style of some of these icons, because there's sort of that sketchy feel to them, as if they were pencil drawings almost, and somebody was sort of shading in different areas of the illustration. So I really love that. And I just love how the Tsukuneko inks work with the BetterPress. If anyone caught my video where I compared or just explored different inks with the BetterPress, I feel like Tsukuneko inks, just out of the gates, has the most sort of variety of color, variety of finishes that work really beautifully on the BetterPress. Spellbinders is definitely releasing more and more colors of their BetterPress inks, which is fabulous. But for things like actually pressing onto dark cardstock, the Tsukuneko inks are great because they are pigment inks, whereas the BetterPress inks right now, the current line, is dye inks that are solvent based. So dye inks are a translucent ink, so they're not going to work quite as well on dark and on black cardstock, whereas these work beautifully. So really, really love that. And if you caught my live stream yesterday, I actually, I did press, you may or may not have noticed, I did press out quite a lot of extra panels, and as well extra sets of these icons. And that's because the theme for my live stream yesterday was that all of my crafty friends who were crafting with me on camera, we decided to put together little card kits for each other and do a card kit swap. And so we drew names randomly as to who was going to send to whom. And I drew Delise, and Delise has everything under the sun when it comes to craft supplies, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't have a BetterPress yet. So I thought it would be fun to kind of press out some extra images for her, and just give her a little bit of a sample of all of these different icons, some sentiments, and a couple panels to craft with. So so hopefully, I'm curious, because I'm obviously recording this before the live stream, so I don't know what she's going to make, but I'm so excited to see what she ends up doing with it. And I did make an extra kit as well to give away to a live stream viewer. So I'm curious to see who wins the extra kit and what they end up doing with it too, because Delisa's kit's going to be a little bit different from the kit that I'm giving away. They're not going to get exactly the same sentiments or exactly the same images, and I actually tried to differentiate them a little bit. So on the one kit, I went with some of the more cutesy images, because I feel like some of the icons are a little, or can at least be a little bit more cutesy as opposed to spooky or scary. And then some I feel like are a little bit more scary, like the ones I'm using on this card. And so I did separate out the two. So one of the kits is going to be a little bit more on the spooky, scary side, and the other kit will be a little bit more on the cutesy side. But so I'm eager to see what they end up doing with the kits that they get. And my finishing touches on this card will be some black sequins. Really trying to embrace crafting with black. So I love the monochromatic look of this. And I did add a couple of pinstripe stickers in silver just to bring out a little bit more of that silver that I pressed with for those icons and for the sentiment. And I really love how all of this came together. And I feel like the only way to trip Delise up is to give her a lot of black and white and see what she does with it, because she is so good with color. I'm sure she's gonna do fabulous with this, but I'm curious to see if she sticks to the monochromatic black and white or if she adds color. So we'll see. You'll have to catch the replay if you didn't catch it live. Thanks so much for joining me on this one. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.